Well, welcome everybody back to session 4. Um, for this first session of the first section of session 4, we're going to just take a step back and revisit some of our wellness concepts and well-being concepts. For the last couple of weeks, you've been buried in the science of stress, getting a deeper understanding of what stress is, how we measure that stress, and what the effects of stress are on the body. And of course, that is a vitally important field of inquiry when we're looking at wellness science, because very often it's the generalized stress from all the factors of our life that impact upon our wellness and affect our quality of life the greatest. And so it's vitally important that we have a clear understanding of exactly what stress is and what its effects are on the body and how we can measure that stress. So that way, therefore, we've got a great baseline for measuring the effect of our wellness intervention. So just to get our mind back into the wellness space, let's just firstly have a look again at our definition of wellness. So the one that was presented by the National Wellness Institute of Australia, and we visited this in session 1, was our physical, social, emotional, work, spiritual values, intellectual lives, along with our cultural values, environment and finances, all impact upon each other and our overall balance, or our wellness. A wellness lifestyle is the commitment and approach adopted by an individual aiming to reach their highest potential. And when we looked at these definitions back in session 1, we realized that they had some universal elements to it that were sort of the same across no matter which definition we looked at. Within these contexts, wellness was generally considered to be holistic. Remember, we looked at the concept of holism, that the whole is more than the sum of its parts. And when we looked at that from a systems science perspective, we realized that once we got all the parts to work together holistically and harmoniously, there was this emergent property that came out, and that emergent property that arose out of that holistic person was wellness, and that's what we were aiming to do. So holism was an essential component to the wellness approach. It was multidimensional, and that's the complexity of wellness. In other words, it's not just physical health, it's not just the absence of illness or disease, it's the mental, the emotional, the psychological, the social, the spiritual, the physical, the environmental, the occupational. All of these different dimensions must come together, and they must work together collaboratively in an integrated and interrelated way in order for us to get that holistic approach to allow that emergent property to emerge. And of course, a wellness needs to be effective for motivating health behavior change. And so we need to be health literate in order to be able to effectively put in place health behavior changes. If we smoke and we know it's bad for us, we still need to work out how to affect health behavior change so that we can improve that and we can overcome whatever it is that is affecting our health. We differentiated wellness from well-being by using Martin Seligman's model of the theory of well-being, which we call the PERMA model. And we'll remember that in well-being, it was still multi-dimensional, but the PERMA model addresses positive emotions, engagement, positive relationships, meaning, and accomplishment. And we need to have all of those things together for us to have a sense of well-being. But well-being and wellness can never be separated from each other. They're interrelated, they're interdependent, and they're dynamically combined, which is why we have a tendency to refer to them as either wellness and well-being, or we interchange the terms from time to time because we can't really separate them. But you'll remember that we had very clear definitions for wellness and we have very clear definitions for well-being, so we should always talk about wellness and well-being. And the PERMA theory is a good one for us to understand what well-being is, and then therefore we can keep those definitions very clear as we approach that within our wellness practice for ourselves.